Bon appetit! This is Julia Child and her husband Paul, and I'm dedicating this recap to Julia. Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. You know, there are some days where I'm so excited to jump on the mic and talk to you guys, and I gotta tell you, today is definitely one of those days. Today, I'm starting the recap of Julia and Julie. I have been so looking forward to this. I love this movie. I had so much fun researching it and found some really, really cool behind-the-scenes information that I am so excited to pass on to you guys for us to talk about and to share. I had a lot of fun with The Devil Wears Prada behind the scenes. You guys were so kind and responded so well to all the information I was able to find out there. So I hope you enjoy this one just as much, if not better. So let's get into Julie and Julia. We're going to talk all about this movie, but first I had to show you Julia Child, her husband Paul Child. Such an amazing couple. We'll talk about their story. But yeah, I just wanted to, again, dedicate this to Julia, who I love. Here is Julie. Julie and her husband Eric. Now, she's the one that, of course, Amy Adams' character is based on, where she wrote the blog all about her cooking the way through Julia Child's recipes. And we'll talk all about the behind the scenes there, but I just wanted to show you the main players who we're talking about. Okay, so we're going to break down the movie scene by scene, and I can't wait to do that. But first I wanted to talk to you about some behind the scenes information that I was able to find, and then I'll drop in more along the way as we go to different scenes. But the first thing I want to talk about, okay, so this is, of course, Julie and Julia. It came out in 2009. It had a rating of PG-13, runtime 2 hours and 3 minutes. It kind of blows my mind every time I watch this movie, which is pretty often, that it's a 2-hour movie. I always forget that. I always think, it just seems to blow by for me. And I think it's because of the telling of the two different storylines and intertwining them. It just makes it go so much faster than that. The budget on this movie was $40 million. The box office ended up being $130 million. So this was written and directed by Nora Ephron. Of course, we all know who Nora Ephron is, but in case you don't, she wrote some of my other favorite movies like When Harry Met Sally, Sleepless in Seattle. So many amazing movies, too many to list here. The tagline for this movie was passion, ambition, and butter. Do you have what it takes? It's the first Hollywood movie to be based on a blog. So as we know in the movie, Julie Powell was writing this blog. It continued to pick up steam and noticed and press and etc. And it led to her book, which is, where this movie came out of. And we'll talk about it. She had another book come out since. Didn't have quite the same reaction to that one. Talk about that toward the end, but let's talk about Julie and Julia. I'm interrupting for 2 seconds to let you know I am now on ko-fi-coffee.com/Real Housewives Recaps. I'm collecting toward a new microphone and sound system. I never remember what all that crap is called, but I priced it out. I'm trying to collect toward that. If that's something you're interested in giving toward, that's where you can do it. I really appreciate all those who have donated. I'm blown away by your generosity. And I really want to grow this channel. I want to sound better. I want to be more professional with my equipment. And this is the way to help me do that. So check it out, ko-fi.com/Real Housewives Recaps. Okay, so I had to start out with this credit toward Nora Ephron. This is the last movie that Nora Ephron worked on before she passed away. She passed away in 2012. Meryl Streep and Nora had previously worked on the movie Silkwood in 1983 and Heartburn in 1986. When researching this movie, a really cool behind-the-scenes fact I found out is Nora insisted that the actors would eat for real. So that way, when you see the food on the screen, it is the real food. When you see them react to it, it's so they could actually, show you how tasty these dishes actually were. So Meryl Streep has come out and said that she thinks she gained about 15 pounds filming this movie. So Meryl was nominated for an Oscar because of this role. She ended up losing out to Sandra Bullock for The Blind Side, but this was Meryl's 16th nomination. So, of course, Meryl Streep plays Julia Child, her husband Paul, played by Stanley Tucci. So they had previously worked together on Devil Wears Prada, and I say it like that because I do a full recap of Devil Wears Prada. Go take a listen. We found a lot of good behind the scenes stuff there. So Julia and Paul Child, Paul was 10 years older than Julia, but in reality, Meryl is 11 years older than Stanley Tucci. Julia Child was 6'2". I love that so much. I'm 6 feet tall. Love that she was 6'2". I just think that's the coolest thing. Meryl is 5'6", so they use extremely high heels. They use camera angles. They would use like different perspective tricks to make her appear much taller than she was. So I've frozen it on this scene for a minute because I just love the opening scene of this. It's France. It's 1949. We see this beautiful car. In case you're curious, it's a 1950 Buick Roadmaster estate wagon. Ooh la la. Okay, so there's a cool Easter egg here, which is when Paul is loading up the car. They show all these suitcases being packed in, and turns out one of the cases shown actually belonged to Paul Child. Okay, so Julia and Paul are, of course, Meryl and Stanley. Julia and Paul are in the car and they're practicing their French. Bon appetit, which, of course, is something Julia Child is known for saying, bon appetit. So from here, we find out that they're moving, right? They're moving to Paris, and they are at this beautiful restaurant, and she says, ooh, butter. So that's a huge thing with Julia. She's known for her love of butter. Another cool behind-the-scenes fact is that Julia Child truly loved butter so much that they named a yellow rose after her. It's called a butter rose, but it's named for Julia Child. She loved butter. And she says, I can't believe we get to live here. They're just so happy to be in Paris. Je suis Julia Child. Okay, so we see her, again, moving to Paris and getting set up in her new home. And then there's a lot of back and forth. We go over to Julie and Eric in 2002. And they are moving to their new home in Queens. They had moved from Brooklyn. They're moving to Queens. They found this 900 square foot apartment over this pizzeria. They felt like it was a much bigger apartment, but it had a teeny tiny kitchen. That's something that came up a lot. We saw pictures of the real kitchen where she cooked all these, and it was tiny. It was just like this. So they're unpacking, and we find out they moved because it's closer to his work. So that was the reason for moving. Okay, let's talk Julie's job for a minute. So she was working at this job answering telephone calls, and she basically explains that all day she would have to talk to victims of 9/11. She would have to talk to people whose relatives were lost in it, people who were complaining about the plan to rebuild a monument, people filling out insurance forms. It just sounds like the most emotionally taxing, stressful, horrible job. Like, just even seeing her crying on the phone and stuff makes me teary-eyed thinking about it. It's just, I really take on other people's emotions, so I would not be able to do this job. I don't think most people would be able to do this job. But her way of handling it was to go home and to cook. That was her escape from it all. We see the first time we see her at work here, crying on the phone with these people and trying to be nice and help people and being yelled at all day and also commiserating with people, all of that. She is struck with the inspiration to go home and make a chocolate cream pie. So again, it's just her coping mechanism. It's the thing that brought her joy after horrible days at work. So after this, we do see her at lunch with her friends. I don't quite understand this scene except for to show that all her friends have high-powered jobs and she just doesn't. She has, she's doing this work and they're all super excited about their job. She's just not. She's really depressed about it. They're all kind of ignoring her at lunch and they are doing these big deals and she just is kind of sitting there. She tries to munch on a breadstick and one of the friends smacks it out of her hand. It's just kind of a weird scene. But I think it's just to show how much Julie is just not happy and she's got to find happiness somewhere else. She doesn't even seem happy with her friends. They don't seem to relate to each other very much. At this lunch, we do see Casey Wilson. You heard me talk about Bitch Sesh. That's her podcast. I used to really like it, and nothing against Casey Wilson. I'm sure she's great. I really like the show Happy Endings. That episode was just hard to listen to, where they were so kiss-assy on it just like that. But that's a whole nother issue. If you don't know what I'm talking about, find the episode where I play snippets and react to it, because it's a lot. Okay. So again, this is probably one of my least favorite scenes of the movie. It just doesn't really move anything along, except for just to show how unhappy Julie is and how she seems uncomfortable with her job, with her friends, with everything, basically. One of her friends wants to interview her about turning 30, and that kind of reminds me of Sex and the City and the 30 and Fabulous ? That sort of thing. So her friend who's trying to interview her is Annabelle, and she comes up later in the story, but just in name only, we don't really see any of these people again. But Annabelle's trying to interview her, and then looking at her schedule and says, I just don't know when I can fit you in. And Julie has a great line here where she says, may I remind you that I don't want to see you, you would like to see me. So after this, we do get to see Julie and her, an actual close friend, Sarah. We see her quite a bit in the movie. If she looks familiar, she is Gail the Snail. If you watch Always Sunny, I love her. Julie is saying she looks fat. She's mad about the article. And Sarah tries to help and says, well, it's just your face. Not helping. Okay. So from here, we go back to Julie's apartment, and you guys, I remember this scene every time. I love this scene. She is cooking bruschetta, and it is the most beautiful looking bruschetta I've ever seen in my life. Every time I watch this, I'm very susceptible to wanting what I see, and I want this bruschetta. She cuts thick pieces of, it looks like toasted French bread, and she's adding all these fresh ingredients. It just looks so beautiful. I really want to sit down and eat this. So let's all sit around and eat bruschetta, shall we? She tells her husband, Eric, who is played by Chris Messina, who I have such a crush on. I think he's such a cutie. I got to know him from the Mindy Project. He's been in a ton of stuff. I know a lot of people are super into 6 Feet Under. He's in that. He's been in a lot of stuff. So yeah, here's Chris Messina playing her husband, Eric. I love Amy Adams too. I think she's great. I feel like I haven't given her a shout out yet on this movie. So let me tell you, I love her in this movie so much. My favorite of hers is Leap Year. Yes, it's a corny, cheesy movie. Don't care. Love it. She goes to Ireland to find a really cute guy, and I'm for it. Here is that fabulous looking bruschetta that every time I see it, I want it. So I got to figure out what the heck is in this and make it, because it looks delicious. I really want to eat that crusty bread. That looks so good. So this is where we find out her friend Annabelle, who wrote the article, is writing a blog. And she calls her stupid, vapid, insipid. And she said, I could write a blog. I have thoughts. Well, we find out she actually is a writer. She apparently wrote a novel, but says no one published it. And starts brainstorming with Eric, what would she write about? He says, write about your job. And she's just like, no, no. Eric keeps saying how good the bread is. And he's really enjoying her cooking. She says cooking is the way that she gets away from what she does all day. So how about write a blog about cooking? She brings up Julia Child and says, hey, I could cook my way through Julia Child's cookbook. She stole a copy from her mom when she visited last, and she has this memory of her mother making beef, I never say it right, boeuf bourguignon, and so that's her inspiration. She thinks she'll write a blog and work her way through Julia Child's cookbook. So after talking through this, they sit down and they watch videos of Julia Child cooking, and Julie is kind of taken with her and talks about how she wears pearls in the kitchen, and she just loves Julia Child, and I get it. It's kind of this infectious thing where you watch her and you start to love her. Julia says her famous bon appetit. So, of course, Julie says bon appetit, and she and Eric kiss. And this is going to be where I leave off part 1. You guys, I love this so much. I love this behind-the-scenes information. I love this movie. I love talking about it. So I hope you're enjoying it, too. Do leave me comments. I read them all. I love them. I love hearing everything you guys think and what you have to say, and your other recommendations. I love those, too. So leave me all that. Let me know if you've seen the movie, if you like the movie, if you're familiar with Julia Child, and just all of it. What are your thoughts on Amy Adams? That sort of thing. Let me know in the comments. If you like what I'm doing here, consider joining Patreon. We're doing deep dives on the original Sex and the City series. We're going episode by episode, having so much fun on that. Also, on one of the levels, I'm doing Always Sunny, because I love Always Sunny. So check that out. If you're not looking for a commitment, I get that too. Do consider checking out that coffee site. It's ko-fi/Real Housewives Recaps. You can give a one-time donation. Again, I'm really trying to save up toward this sound system. I really think that it would go a long way and help my videos, and I'm very excited about that. So thank you to all who have given over there. And yeah, just keep hitting that thumbs up, tell your friends about me. All that stuff helps me out. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I can't wait to keep going with part 2 of Julie and Julia. Take care. Bye-bye.